So now, since the wing is back on the airplane, I can concentrate on the rest of the parts that need to be done. And the flap and aileron are two parts that I haven't even touched yet. So the flap is sitting in the corner there, and I started working on the aileron. The aileron, the trailing edge looks really bad. Somebody has used even Bondo or something on this here, like here. So I went ahead and purchased two new trailing edges, so that I can replace the one on the flap and aileron. And also this is the original aileron here shape, and the original aileron has a metal tube here to lead into the wingtip bow, which I have droop tips, so I want to change the trailing edge anyway and the square of the aileron. So, and then of course I have to get the metal parts out because they need to be checked for any corrosion, because it's two different metals. It's a metal steel hinge plate and an aluminum spar. So and then here on the where the aileron horn is, there's also a reinforcement in the back of the spar here. I don't know how visible it is in the camera. So they definitely have to come off, and I have to see if I can just clean them up. So to do that, I already loosened the trailing edge, so that's ready to come off. You can probably just push it off here, so it just comes right off. And then I need to, especially here where the aileron horn is, I have to drill out these rivets here and here along and here on both sides, and take this reinforcement plate off here. Then I can actually get to the ribs and either spread the ribs out, or I think in this case I have to drill these rivets out in the back as well here, because the reinforcement plate is under the rib. So I need to drill this out, take these two ribs out, and then I can get to the aileron horn here. Here on the other side there is no reinforcement plate in the back, so I probably can get it away with just taking these stiffener plates off, drill out these rivets here, and then get to the aileron hinge plate here. So let's see how it goes, but that's now the next step. So soon when these metal parts are out, I can clean them up, prime and paint, put it back together, and cover the aileron. So I removed these reinforcement plates here on both sides. The good part is there's no real corrosion on the aluminum so far, and now I'm working on drilling out the rivets here that hold the aileron hinge in. So far it's working out pretty well. So I got the first hinge on the aileron out. There's certainly some corrosion on it, but it looks like it's pretty much just surface. Definitely the hinge is fine, it just needs to be cleaned up and primed and painted. And of course the big concern is always the spar, because it's aluminum, but it just has some surface stuff on it, but it looks okay. So I'm going to just continue and get all the metal pieces off, and then I will take some Scotch-Brite or some sandpaper and try to clean this off, and we will see, but I think it will clean up just fine. I'm still working on getting the metal pieces of the aileron. So on the outboard hinge, it was enough to just take the reinforcement plates off that were sitting on the top and on the bottom. But as I thought, the the aileron horn has reinforcement plate also on the back, and that expands under the two ribs. So unfortunately the ribs have to come off too, but it's only additional 4 rivets, like 2 here and 2 on the other side. So let's take them off, and yes, there is some corrosion, but we'll see how it looks under the between the plate and the spar actually. Well, and here we have it. So this is the aileron horn. It definitely shows there's some corrosion going on here, surface corrosion. So this can just be cleaned up. I probably have to sandblast this to get really into all the areas here. And on the spar, the back of the spar, which looks pretty good. But this is also where no water gets, because this is inside of the aileron, so it's fabric covered. But here, where the outside of the spar is, there's definitely corrosion going on between the dissimilar metals. So I'm really glad I took this apart and found it now, because now it's still treatable. It's really just on the surface. Just have to really give it a good clean, and then put a good epoxy primer on and some paint. And after some time with a wire brush and some sandpaper, the spar actually looks pretty good. So it's ready to be primed and painted. This is the outboard aileron area, and it looks good. And the back side looked good anyway to begin with. And here we have the area where the aileron horn is. And remember, there's a metal plate on the back as well on the front. So the back spar cleaned up. The back of the spar was really nice clean up. And this is how the front of the spar looks. So it also cleaned up nicely. No really concerns about any deep pitting or anything. It was just surface stuff. So I'm glad I caught this early enough. And again, this reinforces my thoughts about that I guess every 30 years or so we just have to bite the bullet and take these things apart and clean it up and take care of things. So I'm happy about how the aileron turned out. So now I start working on the flap. Well, today was the whole day of fitting the wing root fairings. I made new pieces because the old pieces were pretty much cracked and everything. So basically this piece here, this piece here that goes around the trailing edge, and then also the one that is on top is all new now. So of course the trick is to find the holes that are in the butt rib. So what I did is I put a piece of tape here, then mark the center line of the hole with the square that I put against the butt rib. Then I held the new piece against it, marked the center line on the piece, and marked how far the new piece is actually coming out, and measured the distance from the center of the hole to the edge, and then marked the hole and drilled. And this way I was able to get every hole right. But that looks good. So they are ready to be taken off again, and then get them primed and painted. So, and I'm test fitting. I have a couple different seals that I may put on here to put additional seal against from the top of the wing root fairing against the fuselage and maybe also the wing. So this is one seal I have, and that actually fits pretty nicely. So thinking about doing that. So, but anyhow, for today, I mean, there was the whole day doing this. Was a couple pieces I had to rivet here, bend this piece around the trailing edge, but now everything is done and they're ready to be primed and painted. Well, I'm back in my basement. So I got the flap and aileron all back together with the metal parts all painted and primed, and then also at least the surface here on the spar where the metal parts clamp on, and the metal parts that make contact to the aluminum, they're also painted with the top coat on top of the primer, just to make sure that there's no contact of the dissimilar metals. So everything is riveted back together. The flap is actually already at the airport, and yesterday I started putting fabric on, but on the aileron, which is laying here, this was the trailing edge, and the trailing edge has a metal piece at the end. Of course, that's for the original wingtip on the Tri-Pacer, which is a bow, but I have droop tips on it, so I ordered new trailing edges. I ordered two because I wasn't sure if I need one for the flap, but I didn't, so now at least I have one left over for when I do the other wing, because I do want to square off the aileron and want the trailing edge going all the way straight to line up with my wingtip. And then also somebody used on this old trailing edge, somebody used Bondo here and Bondo there, so I don't know why they do that. These trailing edges, I bought them from Uniwear. They're really not that expensive, so rather than using Bondo here, why not just using new ones? So anyhow, so that's the task today. First, these are the holes where the ribs go through here, so I have to now get the same holes in the same locations, and there's already a problem. One is right there where the screw is, so I have to move the screw. Actually, they're all where the screws are, so that's interesting. But that's the first task, to get that done, to get the trailing edge on, and then I have to make a new end rib. Obviously this rib is too short, so this has to come off, and I will make a new rib then for the end of the aileron. So let's start working on it. Well, to cut the openings for the ribs here, I decided to actually take the screws out so this can split open a little bit, and then I used a Dremel cutting wheel, and then of course dress it up with like small files and some sandpaper. So I'm done putting all the holes in the trailing edge, so now I can screw this back together and see how it fits on the wing, on the aileron. Okay, so the leading edge is, the trailing edge is on. Turned out pretty nice. Here you can see how I notched it out, and again I just used the Dremel with the cutoff wheel, and then of course small files to just smooth it out, dress everything up. So leading edge is on, trailing edge is on. I don't know why I keep saying leading, but the trailing edge is on. So now next, as I mentioned before, before the trailing edge was going like this, so now I squared it off, and I may have to cut a little bit off the end here. Again, I use the Dremel cutting wheel, so I have to drill out a couple rivets, one on top, one underneath, well actually then here and here, and one is here, and then I make a cardboard piece to get the shape of the rib I have to make, and then just use some small thin aluminum and just make a new piece and rivet in there, and then the aileron is done to get covered. So after good 4.5 hours in my basement, I got the aileron ready. Got the trailing edge on with all the knots out here for the ribs, got it all secured, and then now my aileron is squared up here. I checked it with my big square here, everything looks good. And this is the new rib I made. I just forgot to my rivets at the hanger, so I have to actually go and do the final riveting at the hanger, but this is how it looks, and it fits really nice. I'm happy how it turned out. And by the way, I don't have any really big equipment. I don't have even a shear or a brake here, a metal brake. I did all this with these tools here, like some wooden blocks, clamps, to kind of clamp the metal I was working with on the edge, and then bending it up. Just hand shears. This is the old part that I took off. This thing comes in very handy, something like this, because for the tight bends I can put the part in and then clamp this in the vise, and then with just the rubber mallet here just bend the metal. So everything turned out fine. So I'm off to the airport to rivet the rib on, and then the aileron is ready to be covered. So another big step forward. Today I'm covering the aileron. So I cleaned everything off, sanded, then wiped everything off with alcohol, and prepared the aileron by putting tape everywhere, where rivet heads and screws are. So now I mark my glue line, and I have the polyfiber manual. The polyfiber manual actually says to glue in the trailing edge and then wrap around the front, and then glue also, after you wrap it, glue the fabric to the trailing edge. But I watched the Stuart Fabric the system videos, and they do it from the front. So I think either method is fine, but since I use the Stuart system, I'm gluing the fabric to the front, so to the leading edge of the control surface, then wrap it around and put the second glue joint over the fabric here. So there will be no glue on the trailing edge. I already did the flap that way. So here's the flap. So here you can see, hopefully, the glue joint is only in the front of the flap. There's nothing in the back. So this is ready. It's already heat shrunk, so it's ready for stitching. So now, like I said, I work on this. So I just applied glue, and it's already tacky, so I can start putting the fabric on. So let's get that done and wrap this aileron with fabric to get it to the same level as the flap is, and then I can do all the stitching and the finishing tape on it. So here we are. Got the aileron covered, and I went ahead and shrunk the fabric. So everything is nice and tight. So it's the aileron, and then the flap I did yesterday already. So it's laying here. So now next step, but it's gonna be a start today, but to continue tomorrow, is gonna be marking where the stitches go, and then I have to do rib stitching, and then putting the finishing tapes on, and then basically the flap and aileron are both ready for paint. So I'm not gonna videotape stitching and the finishing tape, because I did that in detail already when I did the wing. So if some of you missed this, just go back a couple episodes and look at it when I did the wings, because I did in detail the rib stitching and everything. So, well, I'm back at the hangar, and I'm at the final assembly of all the painted parts that I did yesterday. So I started with the flap and the gap seal that I purchased new from Uniware. So here you can see the gap seal has to sit about an inch, or it has to sit an inch from the trailing edge of the false spar to the edge of the gap seal. So I put tape down for paint protection, marked the 1-inch line, and transferred the holes from the old gap seal to this one, and I was able to actually find all the holes in the false spar underneath. So then I mounted the flap, and of course the idea is to get the gap as small as possible without touching. So I got that all set here, and then again just put some tape marker here at the, I'm not sure how visible it is in the camera, a tape marker here on the bottom of the gap seal on the outboard side, as well as on the inboard side. I think it's better to see when I move the flap a little bit. So now it's ready. Take everything back off one more time, drill the holes on the bottom of the gap seal, and then everything is ready to be mounted back onto the airplane. And my pacer is all back together. After 3 months, good 3 months, I have the wing back on, everything is finished, and the airplane is signed off by my AMP. Logbook is done, 337s are done, so I'm all good to go. And this is how it looks. So this is with the new wing root fairings, the gap seal on the flap is new paint, new fabric. So it looks really good. I already got the first compliments from some of my friends who were here earlier, and mechanics. So yeah, the landing light area is all done. But then I wanted to do a test flight, and so I brought it out pre-flight, fired it up, and I have no left brake on the pilot side. On the co-pilot side works fine, but not on pilot side. So luckily my AMP was right here, so he said he will look at it tomorrow morning. So for today I'm done, but I'm so happy I'm basically back in there. Soon when the brake is all done, I can fly again. And so this will conclude now. I think this is part 9, I guess, of the wing recovery series of videos. I hope it will help some of you to either make a decision to do it yourself, or also at least show what is involved to do a full recover of a wing on a Piper Tri-Pacer PA22. Would be the same on a PA20, So of course I have a little bit extra work because of the wing tank, but this is basically what it takes to recover wings. So definitely worth it, and as what I've shown over the series of videos, it really should be done after 30 years, like mine was 36 years, because there is some corrosion going on, especially what I found there on the flap and aileron, that needs to be taken care of. So, but that's it. So, but please subscribe to my channel for more flying videos. See you then.